to the beginning of this venture, and could you tell me how this got started? Either one of you can answer, and how you ended up selling cars in Iraq.
Well, I was approached after 2003 and after the liberation of Iraq and the fall of Saddam Hussein by some friends of mine and family members from Iraq for some trucks. And since I've been in the Motor City and living in the Motor City for 40 years, it was natural for them to contact me to see if I can get some trucks for them. And I had a friend of mine, a mutual friend with Gary, who introduced me to Gary, and we went and visited Gary at headquarters in Chrysler. And we said we would like to buy some trucks, 1,000 to 2,000 trucks. Even though Gary was really enthused about the idea, and it was a great idea because in 2005, 2006, it was the economy wasn't that good here in this country, and to ask for 2,000.
So you can imagine these guys walk in my door at Chrysler in 2005.
Right.
I've got 100,000 cars and trucks parked in cornfields everywhere, and they want to buy thousands of trucks to send to Iraq. And I think that's a great idea. But we couldn't work out the logistics.
We thought that would be really easy, because I thought the automakers will jump on us and kiss us on the forehead and say thank you very much.
Yeah, but it turned out to be complicated. So
it turned out to be complicated, and they turned us down. And we continued to really search for Chrysler, and the big three had not been in Iraq since the 60s. The last time it was ever imported into Iraq, it was in the 1960s. When the first revolution started, and they forbidden any American products to come into the country. So after 2003, things started to develop, and the free market started to develop, and we thought, it would be a great opportunity to introduce those back to the market. And thank God that Gary was there at Chrysler at the time, and after he left Chrysler, we were able to work something out with the help of head of international. It was Mike Manley from Chrysler, that really believed in our vision and in our venture, and we started to build our showrooms, and the rest is history.
To add to that, I was at the Beijing Auto Show and flew back with Mike Manley, who was the head of international at the time, and talked to Mike about this whole idea of taking Chrysler into Iraq. And again, you couldn't put feet on the ground, which is why manufacturers weren't comfortable signing a distributor agreement. Mike decided he didn't have much to lose, and they went ahead and formalized an agreement with us to put Chrysler into business in Iraq.
So tell me about selling cars in Iraq. There's some obvious differences. I mean, I think Larry mentions that, for one thing, you're not financing the vehicles,
right,
and you have difference in warranties and that kind of thing. Can you just give us a few highlights of what's different about selling cars here?
It's completely different than it is over here. And for a country like Iraq, who has been in a war since 1980, actually, they started the war with Iran, and then the first Desert Storm, and the second war, and Gulf War. And the whole country was based on government controls everywhere you go, and a lot of bureaucratic red tapes everywhere you go. So in order to really to get through these, we had to go jump through a lot of hoops, even though the new market economy started to develop. But as you well know, it does not move as fast as you want them to move. We were able to, and still, the government is in control of most of the sales. They price your cars and everything else. On top of that, there are no banking systems that is available in Iraq that would allow us to establish a floor plan for ourselves to import cars. So we had to utilize banks outside of Iraq, in the Middle East.
So this
business.
This is all cash. There is no wholesale line of credit like you see in the U.S., where you buy cars and it's on a wholesale credit line. This is every car bought is inventoried, and it's cash, and it's certainly sometimes at risk, as you put millions of dollars worth of cars into warehouses in Baghdad.
Sure. I have family members in Iraq. I have my mom and brothers and sisters still live in Iraq and in Baghdad. And they have a lot of contacts within the government and outside the government. They've been in their merchant family, and they've been in the import and export and in automotive and outside of automotive and properties as well. So they were already aware of what needs to be done, and that was a big help for us to really establish things. However, we started building our showroom different than others who represented other manufacturers and other OEMs in the market, where we build it to specs, exactly how Chrysler built. If you walk into our showroom in Baghdad, it would look exactly like any showroom in the United States or anywhere else. You wouldn't think you're in Baghdad, even though with all the bombings and security and what have you. We were in the middle of building that, and Chrysler went through the bankruptcy, and you know, it was some difficult times to start with, but thank God things have.
There were really two ways to go. We could have put a trailer up and sold cars and made money. Shakir, primarily his leadership, he's an architectural graduate, and he insisted on building first-class facilities, both in Baghdad and in Erbil. So I probably would have been less inclined to spend that kind of money, but Shakir was doing it because his family's there, his reputation's there, and he's doing it long term. So it really turned out to be a good thing for Chrysler and for our business, but a little tough to do when May of 2009 rolled in and Chrysler's declaring bankruptcy, and we're putting up $1 million showroom in Baghdad, but that was his doing.
It's the first car my dad owned, it was a Dodge in the 1960, 61, and I was 6 years old, and I still remember it. And the car industry and the automotive industry in the Middle East and automotive business in the Middle East is very essential and very central part. Automotive, cars are essential part of any family's well-being. It depends what car you drive and what you do and how you protect your car. And people have not really seen those cars since the 60s. And I thought it would be great to really have people rethink of what they lived through in the 60s and 70s, what kind of cars they were driving versus what they're driving today, which were, mostly it was the cheap cars. It was Brazilian cars and Chinese and what have you, even though they're still going into the market today. But people today are looking at the Chryslers, the GM, the Fords, and they're saying, these are different. This is what we want to own.